Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
It's Wednesday. You know it. It's everyone's favorite day. Because it's hump day.
Tell me what day it is.
Yeah, it is.
It's traditional planned doubleheader day is what it is, buddy. That's what it is. It's doubleheader, double dip day at the Coliseum. Get it in you. Yes, they planned this. This is on purpose. They were like, this is the best thing to do, is to have these teams play a doubleheader today.
Woo!
On getaway day. We'll give them both an off day the day after, and then they can do whatever they want. So, like, could we have played a 4-game series? For sure.
Yeah.
Would that have been 18, 19, 20 games in a row for the A's? Sure, no problem. Whatever. You take that on the chin. But yeah, double dipper. Here we go.
Justin Havens, question for you. Should we tell Dallas what our plan is?
Yes.
Okay, so without naming any names, because there's nothing like officially set in stone here. Yesterday, Dallas, we met with a company who has a platform where kind of like what we have set up here for the podcast, like you can bring individuals in remotely. You can obviously do it together if you want, but they will have the capability to put up a game broadcast that we can commentate over, and we can adjust the volume. So it's like we can turn all the way up the game broadcast. We can turn it all the way down. We can turn up all of our voices. We can turn us down. But the problem is, I was thinking about it from like a Section 10 perspective of like, all right, we have all the Section 10 guys on to kind of have like a watch along with the Red Sox game. But how it works is like you log in with your MLB TV subscription. So if you're in Boston, then you can't watch the Red Sox on MLB TV. So I was like, man, that sucks because it sounds like a great platform. How do we still use this to where we can get something out of it? And then I was like, well, if it doesn't work for Section 10, what if, hypothetically, Jayhay and I, maybe even Joey, I'm sure Joey will be interested as well. He's not on the Wednesday pod. But what if we did a watch along with the A's broadcast and we just commentated over your commentary for an Oakland A's game? I think that would be great, especially if you knew that it was going on. You could make subtle references to our broadcast on your broadcast, and we can almost like communicate with you without communicating with you directly.
That seems a bit impossible since you're talking about lowering the volume. So how would you hear what's being said?
I just said you can adjust it. Like we can turn you all the way up. We can turn us all the way up. We can turn us all the way down. We can turn you all the way down. So we can have you on like 50% and us on 100%. So like we're hearing your broadcast, but we are commentating at the same time. Yeah, it's kind of like a simulcast.
So that, wow, well, that's cool to think that company is in bed enough where you're going to be able to have rights to all those games.
Yep. That's the plan.
Yeah. That sounds sweet.
Yeah. So that's
it's not an illegal stream.
Not an illegal stream. Yeah, this is
all
this
above
is street
board.
legal.
You could call us out and be like, the Jared and Justin broadcast. What's up, guys? This is Dallas. I know you're out there.
You know what? I think,
and then we just like totally riff that whole inning.
After we get a couple of these under our belt, Jayhay, I am going to put Oakland A's broadcaster in my Twitter bio.
I mean, I think it's people are extremely liberal with the titles that they throw around on LinkedIn and such. I think we can absolutely do A's play-by-play, A's color. You know, you and I can figure out our exact cadence or whatever and who's doing what. But I think it's great.
Yeah, I think Jake will do the play-by-play and we both do color.
Even better.
Yeah,
that's way better. Actually, I will do a much better job in that role.
Yeah, you know who's doing a great job recently? Bryce Harper.
There's been a lot of great jobs. Well, that's what happens. You start having more children. You just start to ratchet up the dad strength. We know how that goes. It's not a mystery to anybody. It's not a mystery to anybody. You pop out kids, you pop out homers. That's what happens.
Bryce Harper is now homered in 3 straight games. In those 3 games that he has homered, I'm not sure if you saw my tweet. You know how many runs he's driven into those 3 games, Dallas?
10.
10 runs since returning from paternity leave. This is from Jared Carabas, Jared _ Carabas on Twitter. Great follow. Works for Underdog. does Baseball's Dead, Section 10, MLB Network, NESN, and Sports Hub. It says right here, since returning from paternity leave, Bryce Harper is tied for the second highest OPS in baseball. And you'll love this, Dallas. His OPS is 1 dot. 1 dot.
Uh-huh.
What's the rest of it?
1.420.
Nope.
1.209.
1.209, baby. Shout out to Stockton.
Holla.
He's homered in 3 straight games, and he's driven in 10 runs in those games. I see a lot of Phillies fans. They're saying MV3. They're saying, here comes another MVP trophy for our boy Bryce. I feel like it's going to be an uphill battle this year, but you know what? I'm happy to see Bryce being Bryce.
You know what? If there's no way that Bryce Harper can't be a part of the conversation that we already are having Shohei Ohtani at the center of, if he's going to also play a position. There's no, you got to factor him in. That's going to be a factor. A factor.
It would be disrespectful to eliminate him from the conversation as a 2-time winner on May 8th when he's playing quite well. I think the reality is that Bryce Harper's days of winning MVPs probably ceased when Shohei Ohtani came into his league.
Because is Ohtani going to be? No. But is Ohtani going to represent? Is Ohtani going to be to the rest of these guys what Jordan was to the championships?
No, like I made a tweet saying he's going to win the MVP, and some people took that like it's a foregone conclusion. I think he needs to be like people are dismissed him from the conversation because he's a DH. And in fact, I think we just need to embrace the idea, particularly now that the DH is in both leagues, that if he puts up the sort of offensive season that we talked about on last podcast, he may very well win the MVP. My point with it as it relates to Harper was more just if the vote, I know he's playing a position and I know he's getting more comfortable at first base, but like if the voters are going to give it to an offense first player, over someone like maybe a more well-rounded candidate like Mookie this season, who's the betting favorite still. I think they're just going to go with Ohtani. But that's not to diminish what Bryce is doing, which is awesome. And I spent time on his reference page this morning at like 4:00, and I was
by the way, what the fuck, dude? Jayhay was tweeting Nugs at 4:30 in the morning. Is that like Isla time?
Yeah, she woke me up. No, not hating,
not hating on this baby, but
it happened, and I just stayed up, and I decided what better time to start digging in on some Nugs and get ready for today's podcast and see what interested me. So that's how that happened.
It was a great meme, the Green Goblin mask.
Yeah, that was good work.
The Jayhay doesn't decide when the Nugs are ready. The Nugs decide when Jayhay is ready to put them out there, and there was just a Green Goblin mask just ready.
There's
to go.
some real truth to that, but yeah. I don't know, man. I think Harper we've done the whole overrated, underrated thing, but like
since high school,
I feel like I felt this morning like we and I are still not appreciating like his overall. I don't know, man. Like he's just like we were just talking about Trout's decline, and Bryce Harper outside of his MVP seasons is basically exactly as good as he's been his entire career. Like his OPS
and
plus
he's
this
changing
year,
positions, and he's changing. That's the other thing that you have to factor in is what Bryce Harper is about to do. Mookie Betts is being lauded for, or what Bryce Harper is doing currently. Mookie Betts has been lauded for. Now Mookie's gone from outfield to second base to shortstop. He's playing premium defensive positions. Bryce Harper was an outfielder playing with his hair on fire, and they're like, "Well, we got to figure out some way to keep you healthy on the field. Guess we're going to try to hide you over at first base, right?"
People forget the Bryce Harper catcher days.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that was not he was never going to be a big league catcher. No.
But the one thing when comparing the legacies here, Dallas, is that Bryce Harper has done it in
done what?
The postseason.
Oh, yes.
He's also done it in the postseason.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, those are see, like something like that. Like that's almost one of those things that I don't even think about when I talk about Harper and Trout, because that's a clear cut. Like, oh, well, yeah, obviously. Like Trout.
I just want to make it clear, though. I don't want that to be a knock on Trout because he doesn't necessarily have anything to do or control whether or not he's done it in the playoffs or not. It's more to further credit Bryce Harper that he's had that opportunity and he's taken advantage
capitalized.
Of that.
He's performed there. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
pissing people off. Hunter Strickland's still just fucking just sitting at home like this motherfucker Bryce Harper. He's still mad about it.
The one thing I'll say about Harper too, like just to go back to kind of what I was trying to say earlier, is like, so he won that MVP in 21 and that was obviously a monster season and, you know, either the best or second best season of his career. But I think his on and off availability since then, in the 2+ seasons since then, or really just the last 2 seasons prior to this one, we just haven't played enough of this season, I think has obscured the fact to some degree of like how awesome this guy even still is in his non-MVP seasons. Like I just looked it up. He's 9th in WOBA. You could basically pick any stat, but like he's a top 10 offensive player since the 22 season. So post MVP. And like, it just feels like we go really long stretches of time without talking about him over that stretch necessarily, even though.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Like, it's not true in the postseason to your degree. We talk about him all the time there, but yeah, you know, people get used to it. He's been on the same team now for, you know, half a decade or so. So it's not new. But I think it's just as like Harper in Philadelphia to me is still feels as fresh and as exciting as almost the day that he got there. And that alone, that's very subjective, of course, but like that alone feels extremely unique among modern free agent signings, that it's still going so well and still feels so embracing, and that it's still maybe kind of peaking or semi-peaking.
No, I was going to say it feels like he just got there, but has also been there for a decade all at the same time. And to your point about it still being fresh, there hasn't been that wearing off of the shine. Like that is still very much there. And I think his success and what they have going pitching wise, like fast forward, if you're trying to draw people in, he's still very much a part of why you might consider uprooting and coming to Philly in the time necessary, because you've got support.
Well, and this is a tangent now, but like this is also part of this whole conversation is part of the appeal of his free agency, and why him reaching free agency at such a young age, like basically an unprecedentedly young age, was so appealing to the signing team, because yeah, you are getting 7 or 8 years of prime baseball because you signed him entering his age 26 season. And that's why this is in part such a fruitful relationship, as opposed to guys who hit free agency at 30 or 31 or 32. But that he's on a tear and seemingly healthy and playing his best baseball since 21 is awesome. And I simply don't get tired of watching him do what he does.
I'm about to pull up the where he ranks if you take out his MVP seasons. I'm going to be able to get that for you. Shout out True Media, by the way. God bless it. being able to be back on my bullshit. With looking up statistics, it's pulling. I've set the date range. Well, I've got to set it to like minimum. What would you say for plate appearances going back to what, 2012?
Yeah, I'd say like 5K plate appearances, probably minimum.
All right, let's set it to 5,000 plate appearances. I'll work on that for you.
Thanks.
Anyways, while we're working on that, got to tell you about the good folks at Underdog. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats, strikeouts, total bases, home runs, and so much more. Make entries of all baseball or mix and match across your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Jake, how did Danhausen do last night?
Oh, Danhausen hit every single higher on Underdog in the book.
Yeah, he did. He just drains threes. This guy is unbelievable. He 11th in the league in 3-pointers. Celtics, I mean, I feel like they're not going to lose a game in this series. Like the Cleveland Cavaliers don't look like they're a good basketball team to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was one game, but it's pretty much a sweep already.
Oh, I thought they played 2.
Nope, 1-0.
All right, just 1. All right, yeah. Well, I'm going to call a classic Jake sweep in that Celtics series. Again, rooting for Celtics, Knicks, Bruins, Rangers. That would be very exciting. But if you do get in on the action, and I encourage you to, make sure you sign up with the promo code Jared. That is Jared, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That is Underdog Fantasy, promo code Jared. And let me tell you right now, my mom did not appreciate the segment that we did where I made fun of her for going to the Bruins game. So I'm just gonna say right now, I'm gonna make that happen. I think my my dad and my sister have tickets to game 5 of the Bruins series, but I would really appreciate being able to say a Bruins playoff hockey game. I've done the Celtics. I've done all that. It's time to see some Bruins play. Do you don't get into hockey at all, do you, Dallas?
No.
Not a hockey guy.
No.
Basketball.
Love to watch hockey. Like I said, love to watch hockey in person.
Cowboys fan.
Cowboys fan.
Yeah. Okay. Well, JD Martinez broke Wilson Contreras' arm. Says right here.
Yeah. What are we doing? What are we? What are we doing?
Did you not see the side angle? I know you were looking for an overhead, but did you not see the side angle? He was like up his asshole.
Yeah, well, it's a combination of two things: JD Martinez not being in the batter's box, and Wilson Contreras being far too close to the home plate. It's both can be true, both can be very true.
Was JD out of the was he out of the batter's box in the back end?
That's why I was looking for the overhead view, is because from the one angle that I had, or that I think everybody has, you can't definitively tell where he's at. He's probably absolutely at least on the line. That's just where he sets up in the box.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of a change he's willing to make, because guys like to be in the same spot of the box every time. But this is something that I said, I wonder if this gets approached, or I wonder if this gets
the JD
if
rule.
Major League Baseball decides to step in, because you're impacting strategy to an extent, right? How you want to have your players set up defensively. And that's where I thought about, well, they implemented the shift regulations. So what would prevent them from implementing something like this?
Yeah.
Because we all know that it's in an effort to blur the bottom of the strike zone. They're trying to steal strikes from the bottom of the zone. How do you do that? You work from down to up. Well, if you're working mechanically from down to up, you can't just be like this, have your hand here, and then just go and catch the ball like this. Can't do that. You got to go up and out, up and out. And so what does that do? That takes you closer to the target, right?
So it's because of his pitch framing is why he was closer.
It is an effort.
If he was a better pitch framer, he wouldn't have broke his arm.
It's not, this is where some people, and I saw it and it makes sense. If there were robotic umpires, this wouldn't be a thing.
Correct.
Because any catcher
wouldn't have
back
to be
there,
stealing strikes.
You could basically just sit back there like this.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Like the idea of setting up in any certain way is all gone. Like you could set up in the prime opportunity to throw out a base runner and not worry about anything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of guys across the league who get long in their backswing and they hit guys. In this instance, it was JD at the initial part of his swing.
I have the numbers, Bryce Harper numbers. So this is minimum 5,000 plate appearances since the start of 2012, his rookie season. And it's if you remove 2015 and you remove 2021. So very oddly specific. There are 16 players who qualify for this. Would you like to take a guess who number one is, Dallas, in OPS?
Minimum 5,000 plate appearances?
Yep. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, Ohtani.
Nope. Mike Trout. Ohtani does not qualify. 5,000 plate appearances.
Oh, he doesn't. Yeah, when did he get here?
18.
Yeah, maybe I set the plate appearances thing a little high, but that's okay.
18.
Do you want to do 4,000?
Sure. I don't think Ohtani's going to qualify for that either, but
I don't
that's
think
fine.
so. But I think it will have a larger field. It also bumps Bryce from 4th to, I believe, 8th. Okay, same guys, number one. But we now have a field of 63 players. 63 players since the start of 2012. 4,000 plate appearances. The number one OPS in Major League Baseball, when you don't include 2015 or 2021, is Dallas?
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout. There you go. Number 2, Mookie Betts. Number 3, Freddie Freeman. Number 4, Paul Goldschmidt. Number 5, Joey Votto. Number 6, Julio Daniel Martinez. Number 7, Edwin Encarnacion. And right there at 874 is Bryce Harper. Just a hair above Giancarlo Stanton and Nolan Arenado and Jose Ramirez. Pretty good company. That's if you take out his 2 MVP seasons, his entire career would still be a 272 hitter, 378 on base, 497 slug for an 874 OPS. 8th best in baseball. Pretty good.
Yeah, it's a solid player.
Yeah, that's a guy you probably want on your team for a long time. Yeah.
That's everything that he was supposed to be. Like outside of that, that's why that's a beautiful perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Is because he was supposed to be the savior. He was supposed to do the things that he has done. And now if you were to take those things away and look at his career, you're still looking at a guy that is well above average. Well above average.
Mm-hmm. Top 10. Top 10 in baseball over pretty much a decade. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting exercise. But yeah, I'll take every opportunity I can to blow Bryce Harper as he has returned the favor in the past on Starting 9. He paid me some compliments, Dallas.
Oh. Huh.
He did a couple of them. Couple compliments.
Try to get your hair right.
I mean, he also said I had nice arms, which is just true. I mean, that's I appreciate the observation, but it's more objective than subjective, I would argue. Dallas only has a few more, so we're gonna kind of fire through some of these just to get Dallas's take on some of the shit, and we can circle back if we want to get a little bit more meatier. But the Yankees took Justin Verlander to the damn woodshed last night. He had been like I haven't admittedly I haven't been like totally locked in on Justin Verlander starts much since he came back, but for his ERA to only be like 4.5-ish after giving up 7 earned runs and a handful of starts, he must have been doing pretty good. But 5 innings, 8 hits, 7 earned runs. He did walk 3, only struck out 2, and he gave up 3 bombs. And I say bombs, but like the Volpe home run, there's a lot of high school fields where like that home run doesn't get out.
That's an out.
That's like a 55 mile an hour exit velocity home run. It was kind of crazy.
And Verlander not afraid to give up the long ball, but he's given up. I think he's given up like 5 or 6 in his 4 starts.
Yeah,
like a homer every start. I mean, it was. I don't think he gave up a homer in every start. Maybe every one but one.
I'm sounding the alarm.
Which one?
On Verlander.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I know. I think a big part of our conversation, if you want to circle back on this later, but like a big part of our conversation with the Astros when they got off to that slow start was wait until they get healthy, wait till they get that rotation fully. Like we're pretty optimistic about what Verlander's going to bring when he gets out there. I know last night was just one start, and yeah, for his ERA to be mediocre after getting bombed like that, I guess is sort of a win. But like the peripheral numbers, and not even like the super deep ones, just like the non-ERA ones, tell a pretty disturbing story trend-wise. And he was already headed in this direction in some cases, like with strikeout and whiff rate, but because obviously he's going to fall from his peak. But 16.0% strikeout rate is nothing at all like Justin Verlander is used to giving us. It would obviously be his lowest. Rapid fire, walk rate would be highest, barrel rate would be highest, ground ball rate would be lowest. He's throwing the least amount of pitches in the zone in his career, at least as far as the tracking era goes.
He's the slowest it's ever been.
Yep. He's giving up the most in-zone contact, and his whiff rate, much like his strikeout rate, is its lowest. And specifically, his whiff rate has gone from 33.6 to 18.2% since 2019. Time comes for everyone. And as we said, he's battled a lot of injuries. And, you know, we marveled at the fact that he's withstood these injuries and been as good as he has been. I'm not going to say that he can't come back from this because he's Justin fucking Verlander, but he's also really never had numbers under the hood that looked anything like this. So I am worried, actually.
Well,
especially especially, one final thing, especially given the hole that the Astros have dug themselves. They're not playing from a position of strength like they typically are. He's not pitching with an idea that he can figure it out for 3 months from now. They need this man right now, and I'm not sure that he can give that level of performance right now.
Well, they need him. They need somebody to step in and be consistent. And so if he's not going to be dominant Justin Verlander of the past, I still think that is doable. I still think that is findable. And I mean, look, is he going to be a guy who goes out and gives you 200 innings in an effort to try to get to 300 wins? Like, no, he's not that dude. He's not that dude. And how many wins away? I think he's like 40 something wins away from that mark, right? So he's going to be trying to get there. 42. I don't know how many, Jared?
42
starts away from 300. So, I mean, what kind of body of work do you need to put together over the next 4 or 5 years, right, to get there? So we're talking 150 innings minimum. We're talking,
dude, there's no way.
We're talking 12 to 15 wins a year over the next 3 years.
It's not.
And so
happening.
if you're not on the mound for 180 to 200 innings, winning ball games becomes a little tougher just by virtue of being around for the decision. So, yeah, I don't know that he gets to that 300 mark, but I still think there's a happy medium between being completely washed and Justin Verlander being the savior that the Astros need right now to climb themselves out of the irrelevancy that they have put themselves in.
He also has no other real milestone. He's already at 3,000 strikeouts. He doesn't have a shot for 4,000. He's at 33.57. But yeah, he needs
300 is it.
Yeah.
I think these 4 pitchers are going to end up, quote unquote, going out a little more quietly than, it happens to everybody. Nobody looks great at the end. And
who are you talking about? Verlander,
Scherzer, Kershaw, and look what happened to Greinke, man. Like, Greinke is just not playing anymore. And it was like, we all sort of saw that come. Did he officially announce his retirement that I missed?
No. Greinke? No.
Okay. So he's just not on a roster. And we have no idea what his salary demands are. He's made a lot of money in his career. Maybe he just doesn't want to get out there for the minimum or whatever. But like, but he's just gone. And that's what happens. They're just gone one day. And
I thought I just heard something about Rich Hill. Like Rich Hill is coaching Little League and is like, yeah, I'm looking to pitch, in the summer. I'm looking to pitch the second half.
Right. That's no indicator for Rich Hill. Like Rich Hill in 2015 was coaching his local AAU baseball team and then came back and had like 3 straight starts with 10 punch outs.
But the idea that a guy like Greinke is just not on a roster, and whether that's, to a degree his own choosing, whether he's even talked about being available or anything like that.
He said he doesn't. The last update we got on Zach Greinke was in February 6th. So we're talking like around the Super Bowl. All he said was that he doesn't want to retire, but that it was unlikely that he was going to end up with the Royals. That was the last update we got.
Well, yeah, because the Royals are not going to do what we've seen the Giants do at times, which is
send off tour. Yeah.
Come on back for sure. Come on. No, the Royals are moving on. The Royals are moving in a different direction. They don't have time for that.
Yeah. Let's also be fair to the Royals a little bit here. They kind of gave him that last year. Like, he was bad last year. He had a 5 ERA and he got 27 starts. He threw 142 in a third inning. So, like, I'm sort of talking out of both sides of my mouth, but like, it's not the Royals' problem. They gave him 2 seasons, really, one in which he was kind of effective and the other he was not.
Yeah.
They gave him 2 seasons of that send-off for like a franchise legend and where he started his career and won the Cy Young and stuff like that. So it's, to me, their hands are clean of the Greinke situation if they want them to be. My point is more just as it relates to Verlander more broadly, like even the legends kind of just sometimes not slink out, but like Scherzer's sidelined, Kershaw's like coming back sometime, and we'll see, as we always do, like what he looks like and what he can give. But like,
how would you want it to
go
with
you that I'm not calling Justin Verlander washed. I'm just saying that the context of his decline is a very inopportune development for the Astros and where they are right now, even if we should have expected it or anticipated it for somebody his age.
I wasn't, again, like I didn't read the average velocity numbers, but I saw him chucking like 94 up there last night a couple times.
Yeah, well, that's I believe his average velocity right now is like 93 point something, like 93.9.
So that was a good one.
Yeah. So it's been it's ticking down. I mean, like think about how Nolan Ryan went out, right? Blew out, and then
I don't remember that. Wasn't really alive.
No. TJ.
Hey, Dallas.
Hey, Jared.
The Pittsburgh Pirates won the NL East with a record of 98-64.
2014.
The All-Star Game was held at the Sky Dome in Toronto.
93.
The MVP
92?
of that All-Star Game was Cal Ripken Jr.
Oh my God!
Roger Clemens led the majors with 241 strikeouts. Cecil Fielder led the majors with 44 home runs and 133 RBI.
97. 93. 90. 94.
The Atlanta Braves beat the Pittsburgh Pirates in 7 games in the NLCS, Dallas.
7, 6, 5.
95.
The Minnesota Twins won the World Series.
3.
I said 95.
1.
Damn, 91.
91. Oh, 91. Yep.
91.
That's all right. I was close.
You fucking chump.
Damn. Folks, the Nationals are above 500 for the first time since July 2nd of 2021. Oh, yeah. Some love for them Nats. Jayhay, you seen anything that's standing out in particular about the Washington Nationals?
Yes. I got a specific request to dig into Trevor Williams or give a Trevor Williams nugget.
Willie.
Yeah, I got one. I mean, he outdueled Corbin Burns last night. He's got a 1.96 ERA in 36 2/3 innings pitched. Those aren't nuggets. Those are just facts. How is this happening? He had a 5.55 ERA in 30 starts last season. Looked pretty washed. Here's what I found. On a real basic level, he is the only remaining qualified pitcher who has not yet surrendered a single home run. So that's a big part of keeping runs off the board, is he hasn't allowed one home run yet this season. Why is that interesting? He's running a ground ball rate of 48%. That would be his highest since 2017. He's throwing the ball in the zone at the lowest rate that he's done that since 2020. And then there have been 206 pitchers to have at least 25 fly balls and line drive batted balls this season. Williams' slugging percentage allowed on those is the 5th lowest. So you have a guy who is not only inducing ground balls and throwing the ball low in the zone and out of the zone at the highest rate he's done in years, but even the balls that are being elevated are doing absolutely no damage against him, relatively speaking. Just to give some context, because those are like, what do those numbers mean? He's allowed a 477 slugging percentage on fly balls and line drives. The highest among those qualified pitchers is at over 1,500. So there is a huge gap at this point in the season. The other thing that I found that I think is maybe more interesting and speaks to more of what we were talking about last podcast or 2 podcasts ago, when we were riffing about how baseball is unique in the sense that guys can just like do one thing differently and all of a sudden they're much, much better than they used to be. And even mid-career. And Trevor Williams has started throwing a sweeper in 2023, and he threw it 2.8% of the time last season, just 73 total pitches, with a 28% whiff rate on the pitch. This season, he's throwing it 18% of the time, so about 9 times the frequency that he did last year. He's already thrown it 101 times, so far more than he threw it already last season. Batters are hitting 167 with a 41% whiff rate. Okay, that's a lot of numbers. Why is that interesting? because that 41% whiff rate with the sweeper would be the highest whiff rate he's ever produced with any single pitch in his career. So he's added an element to his game that is inducing whiffs in a way that he's never been able to do with anything that he's ever thrown before. So you have that going on. You have all the batted ball stuff that I was talking about before, and that's how you get Trevor Williams. I think it's going to be funny because Trevor Williams is probably going to have the better statistical case for an all-star bid for the Nationals, but we all know that CJ Abrams should probably be the guy to represent the Nationals for lots of different reasons. But that'll be a fun debate. But there's Trevor Williams for you. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
And they're talking about mechanical adjustments as well. Saw T. Willie in Oakland.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't get to see T. Willie, so that's the only information you can get from Dallas, who's out there, feet on the ground.
Yeah. Just doing it. Dallas, we only have 10-ish minutes left with you. Would you like to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays winning 5 straight? Shota Imanaga or Yamamoto or Monte Harrison?
Imanaga.
Okay, please proceed.
Shoto. Everything that this dude is doing, it feels like is surprising people, like shocking people almost. And I'm kind of curious as to why. Is it just because the stuff, and is it because there was a comparison being made across the board to Yamamoto and the dollars? And is this going to be a Walmart version of Yamamoto? What are we getting here? And what you have gotten here is a dude who is absolutely baffling big leaguers. Check this out on his fastball. And that was a lot of conversation. That was where a lot of what the dude's not overpowering. He doesn't throw 98. Like, what are we getting? Well, you're getting a guy who's rendering an average right now of 140 on the fastball. Expected batting average, just 219. On the split, that's got a 48% whiff rate right now. That's fucking nasty. They're hitting 214 against that. And what he's able to do is that fastball plays up because of his ability to move it around and command it. And then the split off of that, we're talking about the vertical ride and the split approach, right? Talk a lot about the sinker slider creating intersections and shit laterally, but what he's able to do vertically at times with that fastball is what is, I think, perplexing a lot of hitters. But for him to be on the run that he's on right now, I don't know that they expected it, but it has been very welcomed, no question. Because this is a dude who you feel like you can ride. You can ride this dude. Just got to 8 innings for the first time in his career here. So the efficiency starting to ratchet up, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I love it when Dallas and I are on the same page about something. Like, I've got a stat pulled up that I want to talk about, and he kind of leads the listener right there. So the one thing that I hadn't at least added from a statistical perspective for Imanaga is that vertical movement that Dallas is talking about, specifically with the four-seamer, because that to me is where the mystery lies. Is okay, so the split's generating swings and misses. Can't say that's hugely surprising, right?
There's a reason why.
Yeah, people expected that. I think that we talked about how people thought the fastball would be homer prone. They thought it would be vulnerable. And instead, not only in addition to all the result-based stats that Dallas was talking about or expected stats, but you have the highest vertical movement versus average of any pitcher's four-seamer among those who have thrown at least 250 four-seamers this season, and there are 41 such pitchers. So it's not some artificially crunched up list that I just generated to get the number one person. This is a legitimate thing. And
oh yeah.
And that to me, there's also got to be some sort of deception thing in terms of where he's releasing the ball. As a left-hander, it seems like maybe he's blocking or he's keeping it revealed or hidden a little bit longer than you would typically see from a lefty. I don't know. That's more your area.
It's a short arm. It's a short arm swing. And this is the other thing is the window is the same window. But if you look at where he's wearing out the zone with the fastball, it's, I don't want to call it middle, but it's, maybe more middle to the top of the zone, right? That's where he is wearing the fastball out. And then you go and you look at where he's wearing the split out and what that looks like. There's almost like, if you look at the heat maps, I bet I'd be willing to bet that there is no portion of the red that you might see in his fastball map on the four-seamer, I bet there is no portion of that red that blends in or starts to touch the portion of red on the split finger fastball. Go look at that. Tell me what you think. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I would be willing to bet that there is not a single part that bleeds into. And so that right there, that's why I was showing you with my fingers, the ride on the heater and the depth on the splitter is those are two balls that are coming out of the same spot and have not once this season ended up anywhere near the same spot. So like you haven't got a fastball that was supposed to go here and a split that kind of ended up here. You're just not getting the same fucking look. You're just not. And I'll take it a step further, and I always go back to Ohtani, and you can go back to other Japanese-born pitchers as well when they come over here. That split is a wipeout, and it's just because it's something that as American-born hitters, we are not seeing at the rate that the Japanese hitters are seeing, and we're not throwing them at the rate that the Japanese pitchers are throwing them as well. So they have a handle on an approach and sequencing that we just do not deploy at the same rate over here. So it's fucking people up for good reason.
Also, can we talk about Cody Bellinger breaking 2 of his ribs 2 weeks ago and then coming back and hitting a home run last night?
Has nobody drawn the correlation between the Tristan Casas injury and Cody Bellinger?
Though.
I know.
What are they calling Bellingers?
I don't know. But if it's an actual broken rib, like there's nothing to say that the cartilage can't create microfractures just by stretching. So is there any thought that Cody Bellinger is just as strong, if not stronger, than Tristan Casas? Swinging so violently that this is what
they both
happened?
have very violent swings. They both put their whole core into the hacks that they take. They take some gangster hacks, but I was very impressed by that. I was impressed just by him coming off the injured list and getting out there and playing, and then in his first game to be able to deposit one in the seats. It was I feel like even like when I tweeted it out, I feel like the reaction wasn't as holy shit as I expected it to be. Like, do you understand what just happened? Like a rib injury for a position player hitter like that's painful. Like to be able like you know he's out there taking how many hacks in BP, or maybe he's limiting that because of the injury. Maybe he's not taking BP. I don't know. But even just to go out there and swing as hard as you can against major league pitching and to be able to hit a home run, like, yeah, I was very, very impressed by that.
Yeah, that's not an easy feat. There's a lot of pain that comes in rotating that violently.
Yeah.
Are we where are we at on Cody Bellinger? And I mean, we're about to the quarter pole. Mm-hmm. Where are we at on Cody Bellinger and his resurgence? Do we feel like it has?
Are you talking about dating back to last year?
Yeah, like after. I mean, this is year one of. Mm-hmm. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, right. Let's see if he can repeat it. So that's why I said we're at the quarter pole, basically, of year one of can Cody Bellinger repeat? Where are we at? Is it too early to have an opinion on whether or not Cody Bellinger is answering those questions?
I mean, looking at his Savant page here, there's a decent amount of red, but I think when we kind of critiqued Cody Bellinger's season last year, we were looking at the average exit velocity. He's in the 43rd percentile and hard hit rate 36th percentile. So that's where like the Blues at. But expected slug 80th percentile. So I guess it's kind of hard to say. I mean, he strikes out a ton. But if you're going to come at him for not hitting the ball hard enough, I feel like that's still valid. But if the results are there, then can we really complain?
So then isn't that what we were talking about we might have in Cody Bellinger? He's
got an 825 OPS.
And so if he's not going to swing and miss, we said what's his
he's struck out 15 times in 101 plate appearances.
Yeah, it's actually a career low strikeout rate.
Yeah, I was going to say. So he's, I mean, as far as swinging and missing, maybe throughout the at bats, okay, but the end result,
well, I don't know if it's too early to say one way or another. I do think there's some weird shit going on with his season again that doesn't perfectly align with the weird shit that went on last season. Like, so I don't know if that's good or bad, to be honest with you. Like, it's probably good that he's put up an OPS, like his adjusted OPS is functionally the same as it was last year, even though his overall OPS is lower because offense is down. So with that context, I think that's encouraging. But you look under the hood and it's like, okay, so he's barreling the ball more. That's good. But like, it does seem like there's a little bit of an inflated walk rate going on. Like it would be much, much higher than it was last season. How much of that is carrying his overall value? Like his ground ball rate, which we talked about last season as being interesting because he was having so much success on soft contact and stuff like that. That I looked at that recently. That's the soft contact stuff's not really holding up from where it was last year. Even if some of this other stuff is more encouraging. Jared brought up expected slug. Like to me, that has to be at least related to the fact that his fly ball rate is 45.9%, where it was 29% last season. So like your expected slugging is probably going to go up if you're putting the ball in the air like 50% is more often than you did last season. And then the one that I really don't know what to make of necessarily is for the second straight season, he's having a ton of success against non-fastballs, breaking balls, and off-speed pitches. And he's having very little success. In fact, a preposterously small amount of success against fastballs. He's hitting 157 against fastballs last year, and he hit 285 against them last year. But like relative to the league, that's not very interesting. So like, what does it mean when you're doing such a large percentage of your damage on non-fastballs and you seem to be more vulnerable against fastballs? I don't know.
But it means you're looking for it. That's what that tells me is there is a concentrated effort to attack non-fastballs.
You can't sustain that approach, correct? If you are going to be as useless against the fastballs, because eventually people are going to be like, well, fuck, okay.
Yep, here it is.
Yeah. So that's why it's too early, but I do think it's an interesting conversation because he's got a lot of stuff going on. Good and weird.
Yeah. Defense could use some work, but I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to nitpick. I'm happy for Cody. I'm impressed by Cody.
I'm not unhappy for him.
Yeah.
Rock on.
Does he have an opt-out after this year? He does, right?
Yeah. I think in perpetuity.
Yeah. Dallas has an opt-out right now. You got to go call a Major League Baseball game, right?
Gotta go.
Have a great time.
All right, Dallas. Hey, thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate you.
See you in Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah, go A's. The swinging A's, baby.
That's where we'll be.
Yeah, big dumpers coming for that ass, though. Fucking grand slam last night. $110 off the bat.
Yeah, are you kidding me? The fucking pinch hit grand slam?
Yeah, pinch hit. Yeah, and didn't he throw somebody out, too? I think. Did I see that stat? He was like the first player to
come off the bench to hit a grand slam and then throw somebody
out. Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah, about to go watch a whole that fucking pitching staff. Good God. Good God.
I got an angry tweet the other day that was like, yeah, please continue to not talk about the Mariners pitching staff. BID. Yeah, don't talk about us.
Oh, man.
I mean, I'm just used to watching the Red Sox. Like, that's the bar. Are you better than the Red Sox? No. Jake?
Can't be better than the Sox.
Can't be better than the Sox. Dallas, good luck.
I'll tell you.
Have a great game. I see. Tell Jenny I said hello. She doing the game today?
Not today. She'll be doing the games on the road.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Tell her on the road. It's like Sloan. Tell Sloan I said what up again.
Will do.
All right. Bye.
Later.
That's Dallas Braden, the voice of the Oakland A's. Your Oakland A's. Woo!
Well, for now. Who's to say for how long, you know?
Yeah.
Heard there might be a competing entity being fired up.
That's true. That's very true. Justin Havens, your dealer's choice. Did we do justice? I don't want. I mean, I there's probably like 11 Nationals fans that listen to this podcast. Did we do that conversation justice enough?
That's all I had to say about Trevor Williams specifically. Yeah. I mean, we
got to ease in. We got to ease in. We're not going to do 40 minutes on the Nats. I feel like we gave him a shout out. We didn't breeze over it. The Tampa Bay Rays have won 5 straight baseball games. They're back in it, baby. They are currently still negative run differential, but that doesn't matter. They're negative 28. Holy shit. Negative 28, but they're a half game back of the Boston Red Sox, who are a plus 39 run differential. The battle for third place in the AL East is heating up, and a lot of people are saying these City Connect jerseys, Jayhay, they put them on. They had the what the fuck is on there? It's a stingray on a skateboard, and then there's like a hippopotamus on acid or some shit. Like what is on these the City Connects?
I just love like the descriptions that go with these, like where it's like the Tampa Bay Rays City Connect jerseys speak to the vibe of inspiration that the city of Tampa is all about. And it's like, are they? Like, is the city of Tampa all about a black jersey? Because if we're going to do about the color of the city and the vibrancy of the city, like, I don't know, color. I actually think they're kind of fire, but like
they are.
But
the stingray on a skateboard is cool.
Yeah, I think they're better than their normal like collection of jerseys.
Yeah,
I will say that. I would rather see these, and particularly the hat. I'm never going to buy a Rays hat for various reasons, but if I were to buy one, I think that the City Connect Rays hat is pretty cool.
Yeah, they put the Ray on a skateboard on a t-shirt. I might have to get that. Is that out of line, Jake? Am I allowed to get I'm getting it for the I'm not supporting the Ray. Like I do support the Rays, but I'm not like a fan of the Rays. Is it okay to get the Stingray on a skateboard t-shirt?
I feel like in this new age of City Connect jerseys, like they're dropping some cool shit. So I think it's okay to go ahead and buy it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Did you have anything in particular on the Tampa Bay Rays winning streak, Justin Havens?
I mean, I had a commentary on the fact that I expected them to be relevant, so the fact that they've surged back into relevancy is not surprising. I just think the Orioles are unsurprisingly a very, very good team and clearly better than the Rays, and the Yankees are, at least to me, a little surprisingly a very good team and better than the Rays. So baseball is structured in a way where a team 19-18 through 37 games is absolutely positively in the postseason picture. And I don't think we've seen enough from the AL West, nor do I have enough confidence in I have confidence in the teams in the AL Central, but not to be like 95 win teams. So in that sense, like everybody outside of the Orioles and Yankees, in a sense, I think the Rays can compete with that jumble of teams who are ever left to compete for the wild card. So yes, I don't think we've heard the last of the Rays, and presumably they're going to get marginally more healthy as the season goes on than they are right now. I don't know if it's going to be in a way that has a material impact for them, but they are weathering. We have to remind ourselves they're weathering a storm right now, roster wise. We just don't talk about it every time because we've already talked about the fact that they're missing an entire rotation, et cetera, et cetera.
Are you am I reading into this correctly, Justin Havens?
Ooh, I don't know.
Indirectly telling me that the Blue Jays are just donezo?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Yes. Oh, I'm out, man. Like
wow.
I didn't say that I was like done with the Blue Jays, but I think what part of the offseason and conversation leading into last postseason or down the stretch was just how fucking blah this offense has become.
Yeah.
And absolutely nothing about this season has changed my opinion of what this offense is going to do or is capable of doing. Like, if anything, things have gotten worse, definitively worse. Like, Vladimir Guerrero is still not hitting as an impact player. He's just not. And if you want to say that his runway is years more because he's got youth and he's got pedigree and we've seen an MVP caliber season, that's fine. I think I'm hopping off the this guy is going to be a legitimate superstar bandwagon, because he already carries a massive burden as it relates to his offensive performance, because he's providing no defensive value. And this is just another season where, I mean, it's early, so he could get better, but as of right now, he's worse. And the other guy, the co-tent pole building block of this team was supposed to be Bo Bichette, and he's playing even worse than Vlad is, and is in fact objectively playing really, really badly. And that comes off of a season where he wasn't bad by any means last year, but he was down offensively from, I think, what people had envisioned Bo Bichette's peak looking like, at least power-wise. So, like, I think there's a lot of reason for concern, and I don't know if I saw this floated or like, so I don't, if this is somebody's take, I'm sorry. But I think it's more likely that we see the Blue Jays be pretty aggressive sellers as opposed to a team that gets back into the mix, because if the Red Sox are better than we thought they were, and that seems like a safe assumption given what we've seen from the pitching staff, even if they're not world beaters overall, then you're in a position very quickly where the Blue Jays are the worst team in the division. So what are we doing? Right.
Well, I think we can conclude. I don't want to say we can conclude that. As of right now, yes, we can conclude that they have to this point, they have performed as the worst team in the division. Where you, just quickly, we don't need a whole thing on it, but where are you at on the Detroit Tigers? Are you in or are you out?
I'm more in than out, because I think the Guardians are certainly gettable, and I think we've seen enough encouraging stuff from the Tigers. I mean, starting pitching overall for me, and individual contributors offensively to be more optimistic than not. I think I don't know what the end game is here ultimately, if people like Torkelson are not going to be like impact guys. But Riley Green looks like a stud. Skubal may win the Cy Young, etc. I'm pretty in on what's going on overall, because the threshold isn't 95 games. It's probably 88.
What if I told you that the Detroit Tigers and the Toronto Blue Jays have the exact same team OPS?
That wouldn't totally surprise me, I guess. I mean, it's not like if you pull up the Tigers starting lineup that you see a lot of guys who are jumping off the page or who are even expected to be impact level players. So here are some things that, in my opinion, the Tigers have going for them that the Blue Jays don't, since, you're kind of kindly calling me out on that a little bit. The Tigers have Tarik Skubal that I just said. I don't think anybody on the Blue Jays is going to deliver that sort of season this year. It seems that Kevin Gausman is not going to deliver a typical Kevin Gausman season. He came in with health concerns and
Rios just got tagged by the Phillies, just absolutely dildoed.
Yeah, and like there were some warning, like you come in, you experience shoulder issues or whatever, or stiffness or whatever in spring training. That's a bad sign. They don't have the Skubal guy that the Tigers do, and for that matter, I'll go a step further. I don't think they have anybody offensively that is individually as interesting or as promising moving forward as Riley Green. Like
that's
I
fair.
think if you, if you were starting a franchise from scratch and Major League Baseball GMs got to repick all of their teams, I think there's a really good chance that Riley Green would go ahead of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in that draft.
That's a juicy take, Jayhay.
I think it is, but like,
I mean, in namesake alone,
yes.
That's why it's juicy. If
It is,
Vladimir
no
Guerrero Jr.'s name was Bart Stevenson, then I think people would take Riley Green before Bart. They didn't have no problem doing it.
I mean, Riley Green is unequivocally better this season, and he put up the same. It wasn't in as much time overall, but their OPS plus last season was actually the same too. So I'm not being super narrow-minded on this one and only looking at a 35 or 40 game sample from this season by saying that. I think you can go back to last season and say that they were roughly equivalent players last year overall. And obviously Riley Green is going to just by default provide a defensive value that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just can't possibly provide. So, yeah, I think that's my rough estimate. And then also, finally, I know you said quickly, the Tigers are a team where I think you can reasonably project that they are on the ascent roster-wise. They are young, but for the most part, they have payroll flexibility for the most part. And I think you can expect that most of their core contributors will continue to get better moving forward. That is absolutely not the case for the Blue Jays roster. They are not a young team. They are not a team that you can project a lot of improvement from moving forward. Even the strength of the team, which is the starting rotation, like they are what they are almost to a man. And so that's why I would be more optimistic on the Tigers moving forward than the Blue Jays. And then I would also be more optimistic this season because the Tigers have a lower threshold to be relevant, I think, and to find themselves out of the basement in their own division.
If you're a Blue Jays fan listening to this, I feel like they're not going to hear what you just said and be like, damn, that really cuts deep. I feel like the Blue Jays fan base, as of right now, have had that come to Jesus moment more so this year, where it's like, oh, I feel like the window isn't necessarily closed because they're not the White Sox where their core has disbanded. The core is still there. They've just greatly underperformed. The guys that you thought were going to carry Toronto to at least an ALCS appearance have not been able to do that, nor have they had outside of Vladdy's 2021 season now, was it? Has it been that long?
Yes.
There's been no breakout season. There's been no sustainability. It's been disheartening because I really thought that was specifically the White Sox too. Like I thought the White Sox run was going to be fruitful and elongated. Same thing with this Blue Jay. Like they both have just let me down big time.
I was super excited about this Blue Jays core 5-6 years ago when they were coming up, and it was like, or 4, whatever it was.
I bought the fucking whatever the MILB equivalent of MLB TV is. I bought that to watch Vladdy Jr. in the minors.
And it was cool, right? Because
he was hitting fucking balls. He was playing for the Fisher Cats in New Hampshire, and there's like a hotel across the street in left field, and he was hitting baseballs through the fucking windows. I was like, I gotta watch this. I was more interested in watching Vladdy Jr. in Double-A than I was watching some of the big league guys.
No question, too. And there was a novelty to the idea that like it was, the next generation of players of names that we had already recognized. Like in addition, you had Kevin Biggio even hanging on as some obviously distant third guy there from the second generation. But like, yeah, man, I remember the Vlad Bo Bichette core coming up, and it was like, this is the next big thing. And like, we felt like we were on the verge of having moments with this team that just never fully materialized for various reasons. And it's like, it's almost like once their rotation became a force, it was like we were already felt post peak with the offense, which felt crazy because there were a lot of young players. And then they signed George Springer to be like that complimentary, like tertiary star veteran. And like, no knock on Springer, who's obviously had like an amazing career, but like toast, right? Like George Springer is, I think, pretty much done. He's got a 580 OPS this year and has basically done nothing but decline since he showed up in Toronto, from a quality of play perspective. So, and whatever, he's in his age 34 season, to be expected, but like, again, he's also supposed to be the third or fourth best offensive player on this lineup, and he's just not that guy anymore. So, and he wasn't that guy last year. You're right that the team is not, it's not broken up yet, but the clock is ticking up.
Definitive statements on what guys are going to be.
Yes, and the clock is ticking because like Vlad, they have Vlad next season, and then he's a free agent. They don't have Bo Bichette forever. So I think like, yeah, they have some time to figure this out in terms of what they want to do with these assets. But I think the writing is closer to on the wall than we would have anticipated entering the year as to what direction they're going to pick. And it would not surprise me if we found some fairly high profile Blue Jays on both sides of the baseball, so to speak, on different teams at some point this season.
Yeah. I think it's crazy. If you took that 15-16 Blue Jays lineup and combined it with the rotation that they've had the last couple of years here, you're talking multiple rings.
Yeah.
Like who the fuck was stopping that team? Like this generation's rotation with that generation's lineup, no one's stopping that team.
Yeah, and it almost feels. I'm glad you brought up that other generation of team, because it almost feels like we got teased both times a little bit. And I know they made consecutive ALCS appearances in 15-16. So like,
shout out Ryan Merritt.
Yeah, so like I'm that is important to advance to the ALCS twice. They lost both times, but like. They won that era of team won 90 games one time. And like this current era of team has never advanced past the wild card stage.
Wait, what year? 15? They didn't win like 95 games or whatever?
No, they won 93 games that year. And
yeah.
That's the only year they won 90 games as that unit. They won 89 and 16. Right. And then this team has won 90 games multiple times. But has never won a playoff game, let alone a playoff round. So
yeah, that's true.
Almost.
That's series
very
against
close.
Seattle.
Very
that
close.
Series against Seattle. That could have gone either way.
Yeah. No, I it's a bummer, man, because we've talked about it before. This place, Toronto can get rocking. When it's going really well. We saw that in 16.
I'd argue no place rocks harder than Toronto when the Blue Jays are good.
So, I mean, they surpassed 3 million in attendance multiple times over the since 16. So they will come, but I just think this era is probably done. If we're being, I mean, I think you're right that we're not going to see like a White Sox like holy shit, this team started 3-20 like tear down sort of thing. Where it's like, what does this team even look like for a half decade? But I do think we're going through like a pretty serious retooling coming up.
Yeah. I mean, it's inevitable with especially the guys that were under team control. There were homegrown players that are approaching free agency, and they're going to have some decisions to make. And I don't know that those decisions are going to be super difficult to make. But in the process of moving on from said players, how do they replace them? The Rogers... the Blue Jays ownership, they have a fuck ton of money. It's one of the richest ownerships in baseball, but you never know that based on how aggressive or not aggressive they are in free agency. So is it another rebuild situation? Do they try to spend money to, because we're talking about at this point, by next year, we will be talking about a decade of the Blue Jays teasing us with like, we're right there. We are right there, and they don't get there ultimately. Does ownership kind of just say, all right, fine, fuck it then? Like we're going to become more aggressive, or are they just like, well, this rebuild, we had a core that was good enough to make the playoffs a couple of times here. Guess we just got to do it again. Do it better. Do it better this time. I remember, and I've said this a bunch of times on the podcast, when Garrett Cole was a free agent, I thought Toronto was the perfect fit. I was like, this is the time. I know that the Blue Jays don't often spend big. They are able to. They're super selective when they do, but this is the guy. Like, you've got this young core here, and now is the time to supplement it with a monster free agent splash. Go get Garrett Cole. And ultimately, the Yankees made him the highest paid pitcher of all time. Maybe, I don't even know that they were in the conversation. I don't know. It's frustrating. As an outside observer, it's even frustrating for me, so I can't imagine how frustrating it must be for Blue Jays fans.
Well, and we would be remiss not to mention the entire Ohtani pursuit from this offseason, too. Which, like...
But they put $700 million on the table, right? They matched?
I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying...
Is that correct, though? They matched?
It seems that way, based on the way I remember the reporting. But, that's a fork in the road moment for sure, where you think you may be getting Ohtani and it turns out you're not. And then that subsequent season, you finish in last place or you finish in fourth place or whatever. And, you know, I'm sure Ohtani, to the extent that I'm sure he's not thinking about it. But if he were to think about it, I'm sure he'd be looking at this situation being like, probably better I didn't sign there. Because that doesn't look like, frankly, it looks closer to the situation that he left than it does a championship contending situation. And while invoking the Angels is maybe a little bit cruel, I do think the Blue Jays have an opportunity, a window here to avoid that sort of fate by actually cashiering some of these assets before they are on the verge of free agency or before their value deteriorates even further. Like maybe now is not the time to trade Kevin Gausman. Maybe the offseason is more the time to trade like a Vlad.
Red Sox trade for Kevin Gausman, I would the size of that nut. Jake, you shitting me? I mean, that's the one thing that, not to make this about the Red Sox, but in this window where everyone is complaining about John Henry and ownership and spending and everything, I've always posed the question, since the Red Sox stopped spending big, which is, you know, since 5 years, like they paid Chris Sale a shit ton of money, like that was a big spend. So we're basically saying since 2020, they've decided to stop spending money. Who's the one guy that you wish that they just backed up the Brinks truck for and spent a shit ton of money on? And there's a lot of guys that got money where it's like, yeah, I'm kind of glad they didn't spend that money. And even as recently as Jordan Montgomery, I'm like, all right, yeah, fine, fuck it, whatever. But I always go back to Kevin Gausman. Why did you not make him a Boston Red Sox? Especially now, he would be linked back up with his boy Andrew Bailey here in Boston.
He'd be a great fit on a lot of teams, and just probably a better fit once his health has been reestablished or his performance level. So I can understand like why a Vlad trade or a Gausman trade might be more of an offseason move, but this could be the opportunity to trade Jose Berrios. I know he just had a rough start, but at or near the peak of his value, since he's had a good season overall, this might be the opportunity to dip your toe into the Chris Bassett trade market. Maybe Dalton Varsho is somebody who looks good on a lot of different teams, given his defensive impact in the outfield since he moved there. So those sorts of things I think could and should be entertained. And then I think a more complete remake may happen this offseason with some of the bigger franchise altering decisions.
Yeah. Did not plan, by the way. There's
organic, baby.
Yeah, there's no mention of the Toronto Blue Jays in the rundown, and it will ultimately be the media segment of the pod. That's what happens when it's just me and Jayhay.
That's right.
We're gonna go off the rails, and it's gonna be juicy. You're gonna get those. Yeah, you're gonna get those Riley Green takes that you just didn't know you were even buckled up for at the time.
We'll see what social thinks about that.
Oh,
ready for my mentions to just explode.
I think people are going to agree with you.
14, 15 people may reply to me. It's going to be crazy.
No, I feel like your Twitter's been popping off this year.
I mean, listen, it's a 24-hour operation we got going over here at the Nug Factory, baby. So, like, you know, I try and get like 30, 45 minutes of sleep.
Yeah.
And then I wake right back up and I get back to cooking. So it's my fucking pleasure to do so. I love it.
Mm-hmm. I, not for any reason in particular, I went from waking up at 8 a.m. to 7 a.m. just to give it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like stretching out a muscle. like I went from like when I was post-college waking up at 10 a.m. to, you know, you move it back. You move back a little hour at a time. I love waking up at 7. That might be the fucking sweet spot right there.
I got to tell you, that crispness that you get early in the morning, when the whole day is in front of you and it's nothing but possibilities and my cup of coffee, that's the best. And that's not why I get up, but I do love it. And I savor that time. And this morning it was a lot of cooking.
Yeah. Like I love waking up at 7, having the whole house to myself. Like I'm on the road going to get my coffee at a time where I would normally just be like laying there scrolling TikTok or catching up on Twitter or whatever. Oh, it's beautiful. Like I'm sure maybe you haven't, but like I get the rundown to you guys like hours before normally that would be going out.
Oh, I've noticed you've been locked in on that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Helps me.
I can take my time with it too. Like now, Like there would be times where I'm just like, all right, get these topics, bing, 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 and then send it over. Like I'll get like 4 topics, go get a coffee, come back, read an article.
Yeah.
Be like, here's 2 more for the rundown. I don't know. I feel like I'm becoming a morning guy, Jayhay. Maybe it's coming with my old age, but I think I'm here.
It definitely comes with that, but it's also the right way.
Not too early though. I don't need to be like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, time stamping my fucking Instagram story. About to hit it hard. 3:45 a.m. I'm out here grinding while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Like, no. Like, I'm still gonna work out at the same time. I work out at like 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm not really for performative early rising. Despite, I just happened to start tweeting this morning and do some nugs. There are plenty of mornings where I'm up at that time where I'm doing plenty of other different stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly a threshold where, although I will say this, and maybe you'll find this out yourself,
okay.
But there is a special magic to being up while it's completely dark out still too. That's a whole new level of crispness that maybe you'll get. Yeah.
I've had that experience in the last few days. We had a bad dream experience, which means getting up at roughly 4:30 in the morning.
Sure.
So yep, that is. Listen, we're taking it day by day, man. You just got to grind it out. You'll learn.
Life
someday,
comes
Jake.
fast. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Jake's got a lot of good life ahead of him.
He's got so many good years left.
Gosh. What a fucking runway for Jake.
To be young again. Young again.
I think about
I live
it a lot.
vicariously through Jake these days.
I don't, but maybe I should start. Maybe I need to
start.
get looped into the vicarious text messages, updates of Jake's life.
Mm-hmm. Jake's living the dream.
Well, I don't doubt that. I'm just not getting the play-by-play.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't want to provide it to me, but like,
I can start looping you in, Jay.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Loop in Jay.
I didn't want to ask twice.
Yeah. Did you see what Greg Amsinger did last night?
About the Yamamoto Jazz Chisholm thing?
Yeah, so I love Greg Amsinger, by the way. Awesome dude. Great. We should have him on the podcast.
Sure.
Great to have a baseball conversation with. Super helpful also. Like when I'm doing like freelance stuff for MLB Network, I get very wide-eyed. Like I grew up a huge fan. Like day one, the launch of MLB Network, I was locked in since 2009. And then showing up to do work for them, I think is probably the only moment as an adult where it's not necessarily starstruck, but it's like big moment. And, but Greg makes everything super comfortable and fun. Nice. But last night he threw out the no-hitter alert before the game even started. He was like, Yamamoto's on the mound tonight. No-hitter alert. I'm going to double down. No-hitter alert. First pitch bomb to Jazz Chisholm Jr. But Yamamoto, and this is crazy. I was going to ask you guys, I forgot to mention this while Dallas was here. Yamamoto never pitched past 6 innings in his career before he came to the United States. Did you ever hear, like in the pursuit of Yamamoto and everyone's talking about making him the highest paid pitcher of all time? Nowhere did I see or read, yeah, by the way, this guy's never pitched past 6 innings before.
I had never heard that either. What is the sourcing on that?
Oh, never mind. I read it wrong. That's on me. Bob Nightingale said,
there we go.
Dodgers co-ace Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who had never pitched past 6 innings since his arrival this season.
Yeah, that makes way more sense.
Yeah, goes 8 innings tonight
Classic
and lowers his ERA. Yeah. Is it me or was that word or oddly?
Yeah, I mean, listen, so like I did some digging based off of that whole idea, but like I don't think not making it past 6 innings, 7 starts into your career is really all that noteworthy. It's great that he made it 8 innings, but to me, I don't know that, like, that's just the way the modern game works, right? Like
especially when you're trying to ease a guy in that is used to having like Mondays off and pitching once a week. Yeah.
I mean, I looked it up just for comparison's sake, but 10 years ago, 63% of starts went 6 or more innings pitched. And that number this season is 39%. So it's a fundamentally different environment as it relates to making it 6 innings. And if you do 100 pitches, the numbers are even weirder or more dramatic. It's just a different pitching environment, as we've all talked about, than it was 10 years ago. So that he'd only gone 6 innings or maxed out at 90 whatever pitches, I don't know. That's not shocking to me, and that's probably similarly to how he's going to be used moving forward. He made it 8 innings because he was remarkably efficient in this game because the Marlins offense sucks. Yeah, like it was either 97 or 98 pitches in this start in 8 innings. So that's stress-free pitching as far as that goes.
I mean, it's stress-free pitching from the get-go. Even if he gives up the leadoff homer, it's like, whatever.
Yeah, my guys are going to get a few runs for me.
Yeah. He did give up 2 home runs. He didn't walk anybody, though. Only 5 hits, punched out 5. I would imagine that getting tickets to Dodger Stadium Yamamoto start with Shohei Ohtani in the lineup is a pretty difficult ticket to come by. But it doesn't have to be if you have the Game Time app. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app usually go down closer to first pitch with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I'm still undecided on whether or not I want to go to Fenway on Friday. I was all in on going because I wanted to see Matt Barnes. The Nationals are in town, and then he got DFA'd yesterday, and I was like, oh. That was one of the only reasons why I wanted to go. I'll see what the weather's like. If the weather's good, who's playing on Friday? The Bruins or the Celtics, Jake?
It's the Bruins.
Bruins, yeah. Like, I'm admittedly far more into the Bruins playoff run than the Celtics. Like, I had the Celtics on TV3 last night. Like, I'm watching Danhausen, but the Bruins, they get the big TV. Like, I'm into it, and I want to go. So I'm going to download the Game Time app, and I'm going to use promo code BID. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, comedy, concerts, theater, and more. Actually, I forgot. I'm going to fucking Ashanti tomorrow night. I forgot about that.
What?
Yeah.
But maybe it's an offline conversation. How did that happen?
Clearly, it was not my choice. It was not my selection, but I'm excited.
Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah. I think she's pregnant, and her and Nelly are dating now. I could be making that up, but that's the scuttlebutt. At least that's what I've heard, I guess.
Yeah, you could be. You could be.
Yeah, I could be making that up, but yeah, I'm going to go see Ashanti tomorrow night. Shout out to the Game Time app.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. Save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. Or, here's the thing, the lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is completely covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Download the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Create an account. Use the promo code BID for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Use the promo code BID. It says spell it out. How else? Well, for $20 off, download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Promo code BID. Got to spell that out. People get confused if I just said BID. Justin Havens, are you familiar with the Monte Harrison story?
I became familiar yesterday.
So for anyone who is unfamiliar, just to catch everyone up, 2014, he committed to Nebraska for football, but opted for professional baseball after being drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers. Why is that important? Because he, as you may remember, was traded as a part of the Christian Yelich deal to the Marlins and was one of their top prospects in 2018 and 2019. Made his MLB debut with the Marlins and played 18 MLB games in 2021 and 2022 before being released last season. And why is he in the news right now? Because he is committed to Arkansas to be a wide receiver. Good for you. 28 years old, playing college football.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I think the baseball dream had withered, as it does for many of us. It happened much later in life for Monte Harrison than it did for any of the three of us. But yeah, man, if he has the skill set to be able to go play football at Alabama and wants to give this whole football thing a shot, then he is a grown man and can make that decision. And I say best of luck to him. And I will be following his situation much more closely than any Alabama recruit in recent memory.
Yeah. Do you think I have any college baseball eligibility left? I mean, I feel like I could play.
I think it's less about your eligibility and more about your viability as like a player.
I could DH. I can hit, dude.
At like college pitching, you think?
Yeah, I did that last summer. We talked about this.
Well, I know we have talked about it. I just personally didn't get to see it. So
I'm kind of like the Chris Young of maybe a college program. Like I'm just like a pinch hit against lefties guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do they have those in college?
Well, probably not on the main roster. Maybe on like the
playoff roster.
Maybe. Pinch hitting against just a lefty pitcher is probably it's a very thin line to be basing an entire career off of. Maybe the thinnest of all lines in Major League Baseball, but
it's more just I don't want to play in the big leagues. That's too much travel. I want to just
you
come
got
back.
A good thing. We got a good thing going here.
I got a great thing going here. And I feel like I could just put it on the resume, like played D1 college baseball, at least to get the people off my case that are like, why are you talking about baseball? You didn't play past high school and you didn't even play varsity. I don't know where that rumor started, by the way. I played 2 years varsity. Everyone's like, he didn't even play varsity. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. By the way, my high school coach, when I told that story the other day about how he told me I'm never going to make it to the big leagues, I didn't realize he's a listener of the show.
Well,
he texted me after. He texted me after. He was like, yeah, I'm glad I told you that. You sucked.
Well, I think his assessment was correct, but that's cool that he hasn't. I think the takeaway there, though, is that he hasn't bailed on you, or he hasn't and didn't bail on you completely as a person, because he's still invested in the product that you're putting out there now. And I think while he didn't specifically say podcasting probably back in the day, he probably knew that this path would be better, more fruitful for you than professional baseball would have been.
No doubt. He texted me and he said, I made you.
Well, he's okay. So he's not shy about his role in this whole thing. Yeah.
I mean, it's true.
Maybe he did say podcasting back in the day.
Maybe.
If so, he missed out on a fortune by not getting ahead of that whole phenomenon.
Sure. There was this was same guy. Shout out to Mike Nelson, my coach in high school. And I believe I was a sophomore. He was my gym teacher and he was my high school coach. And there was like a fundraiser. I forget what it was for. Maybe our class. I don't know. But we could they had like an auction, which I feel like wouldn't be good now for teachers. Like you could bid on teachers. And if you won, you had the highest bid. You could basically like make them do whatever you want. So I bid on him and it was like $5. $10. And I was like, $150. I was like, I'm making sure that he's my bitch. So I won. I made him carry my books to class. And because this was in the heart of the steroid era, I made him, because he's jacked, I made him wear a t-shirt that I custom made that said, I heart Balco on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he had to wear that shirt to school every day. So he wore a shirt that said, I heart Balco. He carried my books. And because he was my gym teacher, I was like, okay, so for this entire week that you're my bitch, we are playing basically like the tennis ball version of like wiffle ball in the gym. I was like, so we're playing that every day this week. And I am on both teams and I automatically am the leadoff hitter for every inning. So I was just like, yep, you are going to have this jamoke and this fucking jerk off just serve up dingers to me for an hour straight. And it was worth every penny.
That sounds awesome. I also agree with you that there's no way that still goes on anywhere.
No.
And it reminds me of the fact that we were the first graduating class of our high school. The high school I graduated from, I went to many different high schools, but the one I graduated from, we were the first graduating class. And the things that we were allowed to get away with would be national headline type of. I'm not going to say them on the podcast. It would be national headline type of stuff, and not me personally, just like the general relationship with students and teachers would never exist now.
No.
And that was quite a long time ago. I guess I'm kind of old, but like not centuries ago.
Yeah. Also, this coach / gym teacher. Only teacher. I've only been kicked out of a class one time. It was him. And it was because I wasn't even in this class. I think I was skipping class and went to his class to play bounce pitch, where it's like they had like the chair set up behind home plate and it had to bounce once. And if it hit the chair, it's a strike, whatever. So I came into his class and I was pitching, and there was this kid at the plate who like I liked, but I didn't like. And so I like threw him like whatever, pitch, bounce, and I give him the benefit of the doubt. Like I gave plausible deniability. Then on the third pitch, I just fucking fired one right at his temple, went right off the side of his head, and he was like, "Get out of here! Get out of my!" Kicked me out, started screaming at me. But he's my baseball coach at the same time. So like after, like at practice, I was like, I get that you had to kick me out of the class, but like, pretty cool that like I was aiming for his head and I fucking drilled him right in the head. Like, you got to give me something for that. Like, that's like, how many kids in the school could be like, I'm drilling someone in the head with one pitch and be able to do it. So,
see, this is the good stuff. This is, schools being out of control in a good, kind of character building way. I miss this era. I feel like kids don't get this kind of stuff now. It wasn't a gym class thing, but now you've got me on the high school kick. It was the first batch of AP classes that the school had ever administered, obviously because we're the first graduating class.
Yeah.
And I remember in our AP history class, we would start every single class, by not only opening the door and welcoming in, 4 to 6 kids who were not in the class, just to come in and sit for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But we would turn on the TV that was in there and would put on Dragon Tales, the animated show or whatever, and would turn on Under Pressure by Bowie and Queen, and we would sync up, and we would watch it as Dragon Tales synced up with Under Pressure, like we were all on acid or something.
Yeah.
I was definitely sober. I thought we were all totally legit. Maybe we weren't, but that's how we spent the first 2 minutes of every single AP class of that season. You'll be stunned to note that the number of people who even got passing numbers on that AP test can be counted on one hand. And that teacher no longer works there. I was one of them, but it was not a particularly impressive score nevertheless. So it was high school was fun, man. Wouldn't want to go back.
What was your GPA? Do you remember?
Interesting. If you're going to put me on the spot, I'm not going to lie about it. I finished 3rd in my class.
Oh, Justin Havens.
Not where I expected this conversation to go, but that is the actual answer. Thank you. No speeches involved in that one, unfortunately, but
3rd in my
fortunately.
class.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yep. It's been a nice, steady descent since then.
I disagree. I feel like you're doing great.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, no, I'm feeling good right now.
I barely graduated.
Well, and look at where you're at. Shows how little that may matter in the end.
No.
But stay in school.
Stay in
listeners.
school. But
Stay in
also
school.
Maybe don't. I don't know.
Whatever's right for you.
Who
am I to say?
You want to take a stab at my high school GPA?
Sure. What was it out of? 4?
Out of it was out of 6, but I know what it is on scale down to 4.
I'll say out of a scale of 4, it was a solid 3-1.
It was a 1.3, Jayhay.
Oh yeah, I guess that makes more sense since you said you almost didn't graduate.
Yeah.
Well, you were focused on other things.
I really was. That's ultimately like I wasn't dumb. I just didn't give a fuck.
No, I've never thought of you as dumb.
No.
Especially once we got over that first kind of batch of ad reads from starting 9. Yeah.
I had a 3.8 in college. I was motivated. I was like,
see, there you go.
Yeah,
That's
I'm going
a bounce
places.
back.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to think. Who sucked for 4 years and then just became really good?
Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, okay. Well, he wasn't MVP. He was rookie.
Oh,
of the
you're
year.
saying like to start the career.
Yeah. Who just got like a long leash before they finally made some noise?
That's a good question. Like not like 2 years of being bad, like
4 years. Like I broke out in year 5. And technically it was even longer than that because I graduated high school in 07, but I graduated in college in 14. So the leash was pretty long.
Now I'm actually like
looking for a comparison.
It's kind of like a fascinating question in some senses.
Like who had their breakout season in year 7?
Yeah, and went on to be like
a
real meaningful player. Yeah. This may honestly be a question for tomorrow.
Yeah, look that up. I want genuine like who is the Jared Carrabis of Major League Baseball? Who was dog shit until year 7 of their career and went on to become a Hall of Fame player?
All right.
I don't think that person exists. Like I don't think that anyone made the Hall of Fame after sucking for the first 6.
I actually really believe in the listeners on this one. I bet we get a number of good answers before we even. I'm gonna actually try not to look at the answers, but I bet we get some good tweets based on before tomorrow's podcast.
Yeah, I'm rooting for it.
Me too.
Yeah. All right, we can finish this off with some Jayhay Nugs and get the fuck out of here.
Cool. Rapid fire. Colton Cowser was obviously an early storyline. Is this guy the best of the Orioles prospects? No. He hit 364 with a 1200 OPS through his first 21 games. He's hit 114 with 0 homers and a 433 OPS, and perhaps most concerningly, a 38% strikeout rate over his last 12 games. So we may see some of these Orioles. There may be some bouncing up and down given the overflow of talent that they have. I don't know how long some of these ropes or leashes are going to be, so to speak. Another negative one. I wasn't in a negative mood doing this. This is just where, as we said, they tell me. Mike Soroka, we're now at 14 starts and 1 relief appearance, so 15 total overall appearances spanning 70 and 2/3 innings pitched since the start of last season. Obviously, that's when he returned from his injury. 6.37 ERA and a 6.63 FIP. In that 70 and 2/3 innings pitched. So unfortunate, obviously, turn for him career-wise, but it's going really, really badly right now. The 3 worst position players by Fangraphs wins above replacement are either current or former White Sox. Jose Abreu is the worst. He's obviously been sent back down to the molten core of the earth, whatever level of minor league baseball that is. But Andrew Benintendi and Andrew Vaughn are the only other players who have been worth -1 WAR or worse this season.
How is Benny doing that bad?
He does nothing well, man. He does nothing well.
He's not even like an average defender?
No, his defensive metrics are not good.
Jesus Christ.
And he's hitting 184 with a 272 slug. So he's taking that kind of,
487 OPS. Holy shit.
1 steal. Yeah.
I feel like Benny don't give a fuck. That's the thing is like not that he's this type of guy, because he is a very competitive guy, and I do think that he cares. But like when you start your career on the top of the mountain and then the payday comes after that, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm very surprised by that because he's not even 30 yet.
I think from a human being perspective, it would be very easy to understand having your career look like it was going in a certain direction and have it go in a completely opposite direction, both in terms of your own performance and kind of just like the situation you find yourself in. Like, as you said, like World Series contending teams with very high expectations and fan base investment and whatever history. And then you go to the White Sox, who obviously have a lot of history, but have no World Series expectations, and you've played like ass. So I get it. Like, I'm not excusing it, but I do understand it. And Andrew Vaughn just is like, I saw a guy I play fantasy with who does some baseball content around the White Sox tweeted, what is Andrew Vaughn? Great question. I think he's bad, is the takeaway, because he was an offense first draft pick and he provides no offense. In fact, it's going in the wrong direction. His defense has always been a huge fucking problem. So bad. Breaking news. White Sox are in tough shape. One more funny negative one before we get to a positive one to wrap it up. Dakota Hudson took another L last night and had another rough start. He's now 0-6 with an ERA north of 6 through 7 starts. He's one of 17 pitchers in the wild card era, so since 95, to start 0-6 with a 6+ ERA through 7 starts of a season. It did just happen last season for Jose Urena, but is relatively rare in the wild card era. Happens less than, it happens about 2 out of every 3 seasons, something like that. One person does this. So Dakota Hudson going to Coors Field was always like how the hell is that going to work? And it turns out it's not. And then arguably the biggest star of the podcast, Jayhay Bladede Bebe. 1.081 OPS over his last 13 games. And more interesting to me is that over that span, he has more walks, 11, and strikeouts, 8. And if you do it on a rate basis, that 21% walk rate is the 3rd highest among qualified batters over that stretch. So I know he's more like a joke or like an audio meme on this podcast. But it's also maybe possible that we're seeing something of a little turn in Jayhay Bladede's trajectory. So I would love to get Dallas's opinion on that tomorrow. Maybe we can follow up there, but great run of play for JJ.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Jayhay Bladede, baby. Jake's takes?
If you're a fan of drama and revenge games, you're going to want to tune into the Braves-Red Sox game tonight. Got Chris Sale on the bump facing his former team. Should be a good one.
Yeah. Yes, it should be. Also, we'll probably talk more about it on Section 10 tonight, but Alex Verdugo is yapping again. You see that, Jake?
It's classic Verdugo.
Yeah. It wasn't that bad. I think he's going to have some things to say when the Yankees come here in June or whatever, but I'm very interested to see how Chris Sale looks tonight. I think he's going to hit 97, 98. Like, he's going to be amped up, but can he harness it? And I believe Manny Machado knows the answer to that question. He can definitely harness it. So, all right. We will be back tomorrow for some more of your favorite baseball podcast. Baseball is dead. Wow. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. We've got a bunch of content coming your way that is outside of just podcast content. So make sure you subscribe on YouTube. We appreciate the support, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We out.